I guess the time we do force it, we can help her when we do like it.
You would process it. Okay, so people have their behaviors. Sometimes this is the water line, right? Let's say this is the ice cup, this is the water. So people have their behaviors. Sometimes they are aware, sometimes they're not aware. You know, you're angry, then people say you're angry. Say, who say I'm angry? I'm not angry. You're not aware, right? Okay. But actually we are. So then there are 4 coping stances according to Virginia Satir. There's the blaming, then there is the pacifying stance, and then there is the super reasonable stance, and then there is the irrelevant stance. Meaning that when our stances, our coping stances is that, see, in every event or situation we have our own feelings ourselves, we have other people's feelings, and we have the context, right? So how do we cope? Sometimes we discount our own feelings. So your feelings are important, so I pacify you, right? And I pacify, so they make us do action and pacify. Then you remember all the people you pacify and how you pacify. It's quite scary. You know, you get shocked. Sometimes, when you pacify, sometimes you're a blamer, and you grow from childhood like that, right? Instead of caring about other people's feelings, you discount their feelings, you care about your own feelings and the context. So you'll be blaming people forever. And unconscious, right? You go to work, you go to school, you still blame. Then sometimes you will have feelings of yourself, others, you discount both, you just look at the context. So you act super reasonable. You discount people's feelings in very difficult situation. Kids do that, right? They just say, I have to study, which was probably what I did. Things were very messy, just study. But then I don't talk about my feelings, I don't talk about your feelings. And so if you whine, I will just shout you down and say, shut up. Alright? Or if I'm feeling something, I will just so that's called super reasonable. So they make us do the action to try to see when we are super reasonable. Then there's another one called the irrelevant. Right? I don't care about my feelings, I don't care about your feelings, I don't care about the context either. That's irrelevant. That means you just go chat.
That sounds like Lee Kuan Yew, no?
I don't know about it. But anyway, the story is that when I did this for the secondary school kids in church, in St. Joseph's Church, one boy, 16-year-old, he came to me after the session and told me, Sister, my stance is irrelevant. So I said, what makes you say that? He said, when things are very bad at home, when things were very bad at home, I just don't care about my feelings. I don't care about my parents' feelings and the children's feelings, and I just go and smoke. So I don't care about the context either. So it's an avoidance. You see? So it was actually human beings. We are all here. Unless people like yourselves who have gone through John Powell, so you know how to name, own and claim your feelings. Then you also know about your feelings, which is very interesting. Which is yes, because sometimes you feel guilty, right? Then after you feel bad, right? For being guilty. Say, or you're angry and then you feel something else. So we have so many feelings, right? We need to see that some of them is our judgment, is our interpretation of our feelings. And where do this comes from? This all comes from our different perceptions. Because our perceptions are our belief systems. You know what we've grown up with? So much of this is inside here, the answers. Then beyond our perceptions, we all have common yearnings, right? To be validated, to be accepted. And only our real self, our core self of our essence is somewhere here, right? So if people are not aware of this, then we function all our lives coping. So this is where our defense mechanism, in the old days we talk about defense, this is where we live on our defense. So we never find our real selves, isn't it? But we needed now, the secular world does EQ, right? Actually, then pay a lot of money for EQ, right? So they are actually saying the same thing, the paradigm shifts and all the various tools of self-knowledge, or DISC, all those tools. It's all the same thing. But here, what I find useful in this model is it has the spiritual dimension. Right? We can stop here and stop at the social-emotional dimension. But this one definitely has a spiritual dimension because it talks about your core self, your essence, your spirit kind of thing. There is something more than this. So I find that if the kids can identify, well, I'm doing this is just my coping and it's temporary. But if I had time and space to handle my feelings, to respect my feelings, to go down into what were my perceptions, I left one out called expectations. Before the yearnings, you have your perceptions come from expectations. Expectations that we have laid on ourselves from childhood or from parents of others or we of others. So if we can identify these layers, then we become our free self, which is what John Powell did for us, like, in a certain sense. He said, I'm a layered cake, remember?
Yeah.
The image of self, image of others, image of life, image of world, image of God. Those are the perception levels, like, in a certain sense, I think, if I put John Powell together with this. But this part, the socio-emotional part, the nature, nurture, what has happened to me, this part needs to be addressed. And this one is where Carl Jung and the conscious, unconscious stuff, they help us to know. So many of us live unconscious. Because it's a coping, it's so painful that we'd rather be unconscious. So I think that as people grow and they know this, they at least are aware. And when they are aware, there's a higher probability that there will be acceptance. So now I'm working a primary 6 program. I always end up working funny programs. I have to do for the primary 6s, this transition thing. So I'm doing like that. I am more than my physical self. Alright? Then I am more than my emotional self. So I use Barbie girl and very old fashioned now. I did it for character education. Barbie girl and hero. What lyrics are you telling yourself? And how are you you are who you are. So if you say, I'm a Barbie girl, then you become a Barbie girl. You know, right? If you think there's a hero in your heart, then there's a hero in your heart. So I'm trying to get some of their songs which will help them to say, G-I-G-O, garbage in, garbage out. Good things in, good things out. Then you become the person you want to be, right? So I feel you need to talk to them. They get all this. So how do you help them to discern this from here rather than from here? So maybe you all can have a iceberg, associate with the sea, associate with animals in the sea, associate with... You can have a whole scene like that. Then you can live at the bottom of... You can live at the bottom of the sea, or you can live at the top all the time. You can just be frisking on top, which is not a bad thing and nice to do. But there are days when you need to go down into the bottom of the ocean and...
It's linked to Chik Jawa.
I was thinking with